Spring training is almost done, but it has claimed some victims. Which injuries will hurt teams the most? The NCAA tournament has showcased some great players, but which ones are NBA bound? And Stephen Curry had a short stint of being merely human. So does that expose the Warriors as vulnerable in the West? We're debating all of that and more right now on Unsportsmanlike Conduct. Welcome to Unsportsmanlike Conduct. I'm your host, Malcolm Kellner, and no, you're not the first one to ask me if I'm in the middle. Jeez. We've got our second semifinal matchup today, and it's bound to be a doozy. It's the Green Liners and Blue Steel facing off, with the winner getting a date in the championship match with the Purple Panthers. Our first contestants on the day, Augie Vanderveer, Pablo Feldman. Augie, you ready to go today?
I am rip-roaring and ready to go.
You've got another NBA jersey on. Who is this today?
This is Anthony Penny Hardaway, Memphis Hoops legend, just dunking on everybody.
Your old school NBA jersey collection is certainly unparalleled, and I respect that. Pablo.
Professional look is always over there.
Okay, so chirping him again for the professional look.
Where's the little necktie there, bud?
Well, yeah, I see a lack of a tie. You're going with the
scrubbing.
business casual look today.
Sometimes you just got to let it run free.
Gotta respect the game. Come on now.
Good stuff. Well, let's cut to the chase, gentlemen. It's game time. So first up, Major League Baseball. There have been a slew of injuries the past few weeks during MLB spring training. Which player's absence will hurt his team the most? Augie Vanderveer started off.
Carson Smith. The Red Sox last season, what was their biggest weakness? Pitching. In the offseason, what'd they get? Pitching. But Carson Smith, his injury is derailing that whole thing. Guys are coming in, getting overworked, so I think it just completely messes up their mojo.
Okay, so he's saying the loss of Carson Smith at the beginning of the year will hurt that Sox pen. Pablo, why not Carson Smith? Why someone else?
Well, honestly, uncomparable that Andre Ethier in the NL West for the Dodgers. He's not going to be walking on his foot for another 6 weeks, and he was going to be a crucial part in the Dodgers lineup. The Dodgers and the strong NL West this year are going to need a strong start, and Crawford's going to have to step up for them, but it's just not going to happen because Andre Ethier is an absolutely crucial part in that lineup.
Okay, so let's talk about the replacements for each player, because both players are going to have to get replaced. So who are the Sox going to look to replace Carson Smith with while he's out?
I honestly can't think of a single person who can replace his grit, his knowledge of the game, and what he brings to the locker room, so I have nothing for you there.
I didn't know he was such a great locker room guy. He must be an expert with the Mariners. But Pablo, who's going to replace Andre Ethier, and why will he not be a good replacement?
The Dodgers are going to have to look for somebody young in their organization, and that's just Ethier is a veteran guy there who has really stepped up in years past. The Dodgers have a slew of other injuries, Brandon Beachy, Brett Anderson, and it's really going to affect their entire depth of their roster.
Okay, Augie, back to you. Why will Ethier not be a big loss? Do you have an idea of who else can step in place for him for LA and fill the
Andre
hole?
Ethier, he wasn't their savior. He was never going to fix those inherent problems in the Dodger team. The whole thing was a sham. They're not going to get off to the good start because they're a complete hoax. I'm saying they're getting exposed right out of the gate.
And you think, Pablo, the Red Sox will be okay for the time being without Smith?
Yeah.
At least more so than the Dodgers will be.
So he's pretty much a no-name player. Honestly, pretty much a no-name player. They have plenty of other pitchers with their accusation of David Price. Just honestly, absolutely ridiculous. It doesn't make a difference for the Red Sox. They have plenty of depth.
Okay, last words for each of you. Augie first.
Carson Smith is the greatest pitcher for the Red Sox in the last 10 years.
Oh my God, well he's never played for the Red Sox, so
irreplaceable.
that's a bold statement. Pablo, last words for you.
Just absurdism out here. And Andre Ethier, the Dodgers are about to crash in the NL West. And honestly, probably the San Francisco Giants are going to win the NL West now with the Dodgers' absolutely colossal downfall.
All right, guys, well, I'm going to have to wrap this one up. I will say that isn't the most substantive point we've ever had. Not a whole lot of depth from either side, but I'm going to have to give this one to Pablo Feldman and the Green Liners. When Augie said that Carson Smith was the best pitcher for the Red Sox in the past 10 years, it didn't really work out so well. So Going to give this one to Pablo and the Liners. So, question number 2. Hopefully, this will be a little better debate. But should Travis Shaw or Pablo Sandoval be the third baseman for the Boston Red Sox this year? So, Pablo, starting with you.
Well, my name is Pablo, so obviously I have to choose Pablo Sandoval. But back to the real talk. Pablo Sandoval, I mean, he had 1 year with them, and as you've seen in his career, he's an every other year player. With the Giants, the Giants won every other year, and those were the years Pablo Sandoval was big and had an instrumental part in helping them win. Pablo Sandoval is an amazing third baseman. Pablo Sandoval also a great hitter, and you're going to bring up his weight issue, but you know what? That's never changed, and he's played successfully with that weight on his entire career.
Okay, so Pablo saying Pablo should be the third baseman. Augie, why should Travis be the third baseman?
Travis Shaw, well, he can move laterally for one. He's a more athletic person. He's got the better throw to first, so he just brings another defensive intangible to the field, and his offensive production has been far and away better than Pablo Sandoval. Back to Pablo.
Okay, so let's talk about the contracts here. So the Red Sox obviously gave Pablo Sandoval a huge contract last year. Should that play into whether they start the year off with him?
Obviously, that has to play into it. They gave him the contract. You have to give the man a shot. You're not going to have Travis Shaw come in who has nowhere near the same contract. You have to give Pablo Sandoval another shot. Also, because Pablo Sandoval has a track record of success. And the track record shows that he will come through. He goes through slumps, but eventually Pablo Sandoval comes through and does succeed.
Okay, so why should the contract not matter? Why should the Red Sox say, you know what, we gave him $90 million, but that doesn't matter. Travis Shaw is the better option.
Pablo Sandoval is the Kobe Bryant of baseball, overpaid and washed. Just because you give him playing time doesn't make the contract okay. Travis Shaw, you need to develop him. He needs playing time to do that. Pablo Sandoval has the belly of a man who should be sliding down my chimney, not sliding into home. Okay? Just get him off the field. It's an embarrassment.
Well, we could say the same thing for Big Poppy's belly or Prince Fielder's belly. But you know what? They succeed. It's not about the belly. Pablo Sandoval has succeeded with the belly.
Okay, so Sandoval had a rough year, though, Pablo. You can't deny that. So why will this be a bounce-back year for him?
Well, everybody's talking in spring training that Pablo Sandoval is absolutely spraying the ball. He's hitting shots. Big Poppy has been talking about how impressed he is. And in the past, Pablo Sandoval has gone through slumps, and he's come out of them. And he will come out of this one, too.
Last point for Augie.
He goes through slumps because he's a slump hitter. I don't trust him. I want Travis Shaw out there developing, getting better every day.
Okay, well, that will conclude things for round one. Closer argument here. I'm going to have to go back to Pablo Feldman and the Green Liners, though. Not quite enough substance behind Travis Shaw, besides the fact that Pablo Sandoval is a little overweight. I would have liked to hear some numbers, but Pablo brought home the point, saying that Pablo Sandoval has won some World Series. He's more of a proven player. So, Green Liners up 4-0, but don't go anywhere. I hear some thunder, so that must mean the lightning round is up next, and it's all about March Madness. Keep it right here.
Maggie, did you print out the script yet?
No, that was your job.
Maggie, oh my God, I do it every week.
No,
I told you this is the one
but we
I
talked
didn't
about
want
this.
responsibility.
Okay, I need to pick my wedgie.
Oh my God, look, they got us slushies. Freeze. Oh my God, we're here.
He's queer.
Now get used to it. Come on, give me my mic. Mic me. Hi, I'm Christian Mudrick.
And I'm Maggie Morlap
And you're watching Real Reactions.
on the Emerson Channel.
Welcome back to the UC Arena. The score, the Green Liners are up 4-0, but we've got 5 points at stake right here in the lightning round. Gracing us with their presences are John Newton from the Blue Steel and Joe Jacobs from the Green Liners. John, I never really like having you at the desk because you make me look so short, but why are you ready to go today?
March Madness is one of the most wonderful times of the year for a sports fan. It's just it's like our Christmas, sports fans.
So you're ready to talk some March Madness today?
Absolutely.
All right, Joe, You think you have what it takes to
I think my
beat this tall
record,
guy
my
here?
record against the tall guy right now, John Newton, is 2-0 so far this year. Looking
Check
to
the
make
stats.
it 3-0.
I don't think that's right.
I think it's right.
I think it's
We're gonna have to-
fabricated.
we're going to have to go back in the record books,
Challenge.
check that out.
Challenge.
Yeah, he's throwing the challenge flag. But let's get right into it. So I'm going to give you a chance to redo your brackets with the first question because I bet they're both busted, let's be honest. Mine is. So
It's over.
going into the round of 16, who's your pick to win the NCAA tourney? John, you first.
It's the Kansas Jayhawks. Rock chalk, baby, rock chalk. Let me tell you about Wayne Selden Jr. He's not the biggest scorer on the team, but he's the guy that gets his uncle dancing with his posterizing dunks at the conference tournament. Not only that, he's a huge scorer, but let's not forget about Perry Ellis dropping 27 in his last contest to make Kansas elite. Bill Self is reliable. This team only needs to play 8 players, and I don't want to hear any conversation about depth because they don't need depth. They know what they're doing. They're a very experienced team. Bill Self in the Sweet 16 does not lose. Survive and advance, but this isn't a really tough
Okay.
question. This is a
Yeah,
number one
shut him
overall
off.
Yeah,
seed.
this
Shut
is
him
the
off.
lightning
Come
round.
on. This
Oh,
is
go ahead.
supposed to be quick questions. You
Then
just
answer the
let
question.
Newton.
Okay, go
Then
on.
answer the
Who's your
question.
answer? Who's your
Obviously,
answer?
you got to go University of Virginia
Why, Joe?
Cavaliers. Come on, Newton.
Why?
It's because
Give me
not
numbers.
only do they have one of the best defenses in the country,
Numbers,
they
Joe.
board one of the best teams in the country,
No
but they
numbers.
also have Malcolm Brogdon.
The one player.
Malcolm.
One.
Okay, one player. You just talked about Perry
8
Ellis.
players.
Oh my goodness.
All right,
you're
guys, not
giving
too
me
much-
that.
not too much
Malcolm
back and forth.
Brogdon averaging 18 points a game. He talked about how he doesn't want to take his jersey off. He's going to lead that team to the
Okay,
NCAA
gonna have to
tournament.
wrap
Easy
things
money.
up. Both teams have a great shot at getting to the championship, but I'm gonna have to go with John Newton, the Kansas Jayhawks. He named off those
Maybe
players. They're
because
just
he
a
was
little.
given way too much time to name off
He
all those
might have had a
players.
little too
Let's
much
be
time, but he
honest
did
here.
win the first point. So, what player has boosted their draft stock the most so far thanks to the NCAA tourney? That's our second question. Joe, you first.
Well, it's going to be Perry Ellis because, you know, the Kansas Jayhawks are going to win the national championship, according to John Newton. And what better way to boost your draft stock than play throughout March and win the NCAA tourney? Perry Ellis, a senior, he's been doing real well, but most people are a little worried about his age. I think he's been able to show how great of a player he is and how he's dominated every team they've played so far. He's boosted his draft stock the most.
I think the thing people should be most worried about with him is that hairline. I think he should just go bald. I don't know.
LeBron-esque.
Yeah, I don't know who
But
he's trying to fool.
But Malcolm,
John.
it's not who will do the most, it's who has done the most. And that's Buddy Hield. Coming off a terrible performance against West Virginia in the conference tournament, only 6 points against them. He's rattled off these score lines: 27, 36, and 17 to send his team to the Elite Eight. It's not who's going to do the most. We're not predicting, we're evaluating, we're analyzing. Buddy Hield has done the most. He's gone from someone maybe 12th pick, maybe 13th, all the way up to 6 in my book. He's done things this tournament not going to do. He's already done them.
All right, so that's going to do it for this question. Perry Ellis, I think, improved his draft stock, but Buddy Hield, this is a guy that's going to be taken in the top 5, top 10 at the lowest right now, thanks to his performances so far in March. So John Newton gets the second point.
about this
Question number 3. Many thought Syracuse shouldn't have been selected into the NCAA tournament. Has the Orange's success in the tournament justified their invitation to March Madness? John, you first.
A lot of people talk about Coach Boeheim's suspension for the first few games of ACC play. It was a warranted suspension, and that's what was deserved. But this team has improved since he's come back, and they're good enough now. It's not just about how it's been all season. The committee looks a lot about team form coming into the tournament, and they've proven that they have what it takes, and they're still in the dance, baby.
Okay.
There's a reason they're dancing.
Joe
They're in this spot.
Jacobs, why not?
I just think it was ridiculous to let a 19 and 13 team into the tourney after there were so many teams that could have possibly been in. And then you look at the allegations that happened with Boeheim and just the team in the ACC, they just didn't play well. And I just think, sure, they've won a few games, but any team can go on a run in the NCAA tournament. It doesn't matter who you are. And it helps that they play the 2-3 zone because most teams never see that, and then they get it in the tourney. So I think Syracuse has just gotten 1-2 lucky games, and they still shouldn't have been in easy.
Okay, gonna have to wrap this one up. Gonna have to go with Joe Jacobs on this one. Syracuse kind of got a lucky road playing Middle Tennessee State in the second round. Obviously not a great team, played the game of their lives against Michigan State, but they kind of had a cupcake route to the Sweet 16. So 2-1 right now, but question number 4. After an outstanding couple of months, where do you project Buddy Hield to be taken in the draft? We touched on it before, but let's conclude it now. Joe, you first.
Well, unlike Newton, I am not a huge fan of Buddy Hield. He is a very one-dimensional player. Buddy Hield can score on offense. That much is known. But his defense, his passing, not very good. But if he was a more all-around player like a Ben Simmons, like a Brandon Ingram, where he showed that defense and that passing ability, then I would put him in the top 5, top 7. But because he is just a scorer, he should be down probably around the 10 spot range. That's where I would have Buddy Hield.
Okay, so 10 spot for Joe. John, higher, lower? What do you
I
think?
have him six on the dot, 6 on the money. But he's more than just a scorer. He's a guy that doesn't get into foul trouble. He's a guy that brings it every time in the clutch.
Yeah, why doesn't he get into foul trouble, John?
Let me tell you why,
Because he's just a shooter. That's all. He just shoots from three.
He takes smart shots. All
Smart
of his games.
shots,
All
long
of his games in
threes.
this tournament. Over 50%.
No reason you're going to get fouled when you're shooting behind the three-point line, John.
He's not
No
taking bad shots. He's taking
Just
smart
saying.
shots. He's efficient and he's scoring. The numbers prove it. I talked about it earlier. This guy's a smart player. He has the smarts IQ off court, on court. Doesn't do dumb things like Ben Simmons not going to class and stuff. This
All right.
guy is smart. He knows what he's
You
doing.
know what Ben
takes
Simmons
efficient
does
shots.
have? Basketball IQ. We'll get to that next question.
All right.
Efficient player.
We're going to have to cut this one
After I
off.
win this one.
Joe made a great point that Buddy Hield isn't the most two-way player. He does have defensive liability there, but he's such a good scorer, and NBA teams will reach for that. So many NBA teams desperate for a number 1 scorer, so I think he will go closer to 6 than 10. John Newton gets the point. So next question. Should LSU's absence from the NCAA tournament and Ben Simmons' immediate departure from the university make NBA teams rethink taking the former freshman number 1 overall? Joe, what do you think?
I think this is an easy yes. Ben Simmons, he could be great, but what has he really done? He's averaged double-doubles, mostly because he never really takes the ball and scores. Buddy Hield, as we just talked about, a true scorer. I haven't seen the true scoring from Ben Simmons. He's compared to Magic Johnson all the time, but first off, they play different positions, and Ben Simmons, he's like a power guard, or forward guard, excuse me, and that's not someone you really want to take number 1 when he doesn't even shoot three-pointers. He had 3 three-point attempts this season, and his work ethic, not being academically eligible to win the Wooden Award, leaving LSU right after the season, not wanting to play in the NIT tourney, all of these things should go into consideration when you're on that number 1, especially when you don't want someone to strike out like Anthony Bennett did on the Cavs.
Okay, so Joe Jacobs saying stay away from Ben Simmons with that number 1 pick. John, why should he go number 1?
I'm going to compare Ben Simmons to Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston may have done a lot of dumb off-court stuff, off-field stuff, but he's efficient when it counts in the games. He helped Tampa Bay from a really poor team to a team that actually contended in that division. What Ben Simmons does, he's always involved in the scoring. When he's not scoring, he's setting up guys like Tim Quarterman for buckets. Name another LSU player besides Tim Quarterman and Ben Simmons. You can't do it. This guy's efficient. He knows what he's doing. He's always involved. This guy deserves to be number 1. He's worked for it all season. He's always involved setting screens on defense, getting back
All
on
right.
blocking shots.
Can you shut up?
All right, yeah, we got
rebounding.
Yeah, we got.
He does it all.
Okay, we got to wrap things up. Ben Simmons is a terrific player. No one's denying that, and he will go in the top few picks, but Joe Jacobs brought it home. Too many concerns about him. The work ethic, the issue with the academic eligibility. Does he care enough? He can't shoot the 3, has some potential liabilities there, so enough for maybe a team to pass on him with that first pick. But John Newton and the Blue Steel bring it home with a 3-2 victory in the lightning round. But the final round is next, and we are
we get a
talking
score
about
check real
the
quick?
NBA. Score check, let's see. It would be
Giving you a little math right here.
6 points for the Green Line. It's Emerson. We're not so great at math, but 6 points for the Green Liners, 3 points for the Blue Steel is the current score going into the lightning round. I can do some math after all. But the final round is next, and we're talking about the NBA. This is where champions are made. Don't go anywhere. I know you don't have anything better to do, but seriously, please keep watching. I need this.
Hi, I'm Aaron Kinigsberg, host of EIV's The Dish. Tune in every Friday for your chance to see what kind of bow tie I pulled out of my closet today.
Welcome back to the last time in the UC Coliseum. Right now, the score is 6-3. Green Liners winning, but the final round is where champions are made. Trying to brave the pressure right now are Max DeLuca and Will Connell. Max, you ready for the pressure of the final round?
Of course I'm ready. I just want to point out that I'm here representing the Emerson College soccer team, men's soccer team.
Nice shout out there.
We have a good team coming up next year. Keep posted.
Okay, good stuff from Max. Will, you ready to go in this final round?
I'm ready. It's great to be here in the Unsportsmanlike Conduct Arena. Ready to take this final round home.
All right, well, let us go. So, first question, we're talking NBA. After the Spurs' recent win over the Warriors, utter domination at home, and Steph Curry's recent struggles, are the Warriors still the best team in the NBA? Max DeLuca, you have the floor.
The Warriors are not the best team in the NBA. I think Greg Popovich definitely has them figured out. If you could tell by last game, he sat Tim Duncan and he made the defense play around the perimeter to protect the three-point line, as the Warriors like to take their threes. And it's pretty well known that Greg Popovich has them figured out. The Warriors cannot win in San Antonio, and that's what it's going to come down to in the playoffs.
Okay, so Max saying the record doesn't matter. Warriors are no longer the best team. Will, why are they the best team?
Malcolm, it's hard to argue against dynasty, but quite frankly, what the Golden State Warriors are doing with basketball right now is unprecedented. You got, Stephen Curry has gone through a minor slump, looking human. I think he had 14 points against the Spurs the other night, and Greg
2 of 12 in the first half, by the way.
Yeah, 2 of 12, correct. Greg Popovich is a brilliant mind when it comes to not showing his
Can't
full
argue that.
lineup up until, come playoff time. But this Golden State Warriors team, I can't stress. You got 3 double-doubles in your backcourt. You got you got Draymond Green, who is one of the best two-way players in the NBA, and I think it's all right there. The Spurs, it's true that they are being overshadowed by what the Warriors are doing. They are creating history, but at the end of the day, it's the Warriors who are paving this new NBA path.
The Spurs are only 4 games back from the Warriors. They've played tremendous basketball throughout this entire season. I like their matchups during the season. They're 3-2 during the season. I believe that's correct. Justin Simmons off the bench to fill in on help against Klay Thompson. I like Tony Parker. In his old age, 33 years young, he can definitely still keep up with Steph Curry. LaMarcus Aldridge, great matchup for Draymond Green. His length is too much for Draymond Green especially. And if you could see in the last game, that perimeter defense was unbelievable. The Warriors could not get an open look if they tried.
Last word, Will Connell.
These are all very true points, but I think we can go to the first matchup of the season, although they did see
come a long way
Tim
since
Duncan
the first matchup of the season.
Did come a long way, but I'm telling you, man, what Steve Kerr has created a mending with this team. What they got right now, I think it's unprecedented. That last match was a very true testament.
The Spurs are the Patriots of the NBA right now. They're gonna win, and that's very clear.
Okay, well, we have a little bit more time, so quick. Last word from each of you. Playoffs. Why are the Spurs better built for the playoffs than the Warriors?
The Spurs are better built for the playoffs because Greg Popovich is a better coach than Steve Kerr. He has a very disciplined team, a very disciplined defense. Defense wins championships, and defense wins against big teams like the Warriors.
Why does the Warriors' recent slump not matter, or if you can even call it a slump, why does that not matter? Why are they still the pick to win it all?
Spurs got veteran leadership and depth, but at the end of the day, once the Warriors go running, they can put 16 points on you in a minute and 15 seconds. I think that's something that the Spurs just do not have.
Not against the Spurs.
All right, well, I'm going to have to wrap this thing up here. Very close match, but I'm going to have to give the points to Max DeLuca and the Blue Steel. I think the Warriors have shown that they are vulnerable against a team like the Spurs. They really took care of them, locked down Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. So I think the Spurs are peaking more at the right time right now. So 6-5 now. So the last question will decide it all, and here it is. Do you think there's any chance, I'm sorry, there's 2 more questions. What am I talking about? I jumped the gun there. But do you think there's any chance a team not named the Spurs or Warriors will be representing the Western Conference in the finals? So, Will Connell, you first.
It's tough. 2 of the best teams in the NBA. But if there's any team who is going to upset the Warriors or the Spurs, it's going to be the Oklahoma City Thunder. And I'll tell you why. Not only do they have the best backcourt in the NBA in Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook, but this team, their starting 5 is just stacked. I acknowledge that their bench is probably their death. Kyle Singler one of the worst players in the NBA. But
Still getting
what
minutes
they
feet on
have
the
on
way.
the front court is unbelievable. Their starting five is one of the best in the leagues.
Okay, Max, why not the Thunder?
Okay, it's not going to be a Thunder. A, they're 14 and a half games behind the Warriors, who are leading the conference. And B, because when it comes down to the end, it comes down to coaching. The Thunder have first-year coach Billy Donovan, who is not prepared. He's never played one NBA playoff game in his life. It's just not going to happen. The Spurs and the Warriors are too well coached. They're too versatile. The Thunder's defense, the Thunder's depth is just, as you said, it's not good enough. They're not going to be able to match up down the stretch. And Russell Westbrook is averaging 5 turnovers a game, which is second to last in the NBA. I think it's behind Trailblazers, backup point guard or something. It's not good. Fourth quarter especially. Russell Westbrook is a very good player. He can get to the hole, but I mean, when it comes down to the end, he's going to try and do too much, and he's going to turn the ball over.
I gotta say.
Okay, say it.
The turnovers are a real true point. Russell Westbrook
They are.
will dribble it off his knee as he's running
All right.
down the left.
I'm sorry. I got to wrap things up here. So gonna have to turn over the ball from you guys, but I'm gonna have to give this one to Max DeLuca and the Blue Steel once again. As you kind of dug your own grave there, Will, talking about how the Thunder have such a light bench. Yes, they have Durant and Westbrook, but after that, it's looking a little dicey.
Steven Adams walking double-double.
Steven Adams,
He's
right?
got a great look.
You're
Not a
continuing
great
to
player.
make his point. So we go into the final question now, and it is 7-6 Blue Steel. So this will decide it all. What team do you think could upset the Cavs and make it to the NBA Finals from the Eastern Conference? Max DeLuca, you first.
I'm a Boston guy. For me, it has to be the Boston Celtics. We're going to start at the head of the snake on this one. Bradley Stevens, no one wants to go against Bradley Stevens in the playoffs. He's young. He's a young coach, but he's a great coach. It's supposed to be a rebuilding year. But that's not a term in
Bradley
Boston.
Stevens.
That's not a term in Boston because Bradley Stevens is an unbelievable coach. He brought the team to the playoffs last year. They've already had a little bit of experience with the young team, led by Isaiah Thomas, who is just an unbelievable point scorer. He's strong to the hoop, creative finishing. Jay Crowder will be back for the playoffs. He's the team's leader. Very good player all throughout.
Over to Will. Why not the C's?
I gotta say, if there's gonna be any team to defeat the Cleveland Cavaliers, it will be the Cleveland Cavaliers kryptonite, which is the Toronto Raptors, my boys up north. I gotta say, the only backcourt duo better than Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook is DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry. They go off. Not only do they have them in the backcourt, but in the front court, you got Luis Scola, who
Exactly.
again is a walking double-double who's been doing it for 12 years
35 years
in the
old.
NBA.
You think his legs are going to be able to stay up during the
Jonas
playoffs?
Valanciunas is one of the best stretch
Not
centers
happening.
in the game.
Yeah.
I think that the Toronto
All right,
Raptors
what
are pretty
happens
much
when
the
you
full
put Kelly
package.
Olynyk, Jared Sullinger on him? Amir
When
Johnson.
you got
Amir Johnson knows
Amir
the Toronto
Johnson
Raptors
has
better.
the
Amir
offensive
Johnson
capability
knows
of a
the Raptors
dumpster
better
fire.
than the
I love
Raptors
me
know
some
the
Amir
Raptors.
Johnson, but honestly, man, you
Unbelievable.
gotta look
Bradley
at the
Stevens
play.
will-
Although
I love the passion, you guys. Both teams, I think, could be a good threat to the Cavaliers. But I'm going to have to give it to Will Connell and the Green Liners. Toronto Raptors, yes, they did lose to the Celtics the other night, but that team has more star power. Kyle Lowry, DeMar DeRozan. The Celtics are a great balanced team, but in the playoffs, you need those stars, and the Raptors have those stars that can take down the Cleveland Cavaliers. So that is officially a wrap on this episode of UC. The Green Liners winning a nail-biter 8-7. So they will meet the Purple Panthers in the championship match on this season's finale episode. It's really great effort by both teams today, so well done, boys. So to watch this and past episodes, find us online on EIV's Facebook and YouTube pages or EIVnews.com. Thanks so much for watching today, and as Emerson's favorite presidential candidate would say, unsportsmanlike conduct is the top 1% of shows at Emerson College. They dominate 99% of other shows, and that is not fair. But that's all I got for Bernie today. Thanks so much for watching. Kellner, out. Nice job, guys.